So I leave names out of it, but unfortunately, part of East Tennessee has been put on the map in a bad way. Got a school board member who he's claiming he was taken out of context, but he looks at a teacher, a student, and he says these words, "God, you're hot. You know that?" And then asks where she went to school. He's trying to act like that. Oh, he was talking about her debate performance. So here's the thing. You would think that why wouldn't you catch yourself? How many times have you said something that sounded a little like it could be taken a certain way, and you're like, "Oh, wait, I didn't mean." He didn't do that. And I have to bring up Trump here too, but it's really kind of a broader thing than even that. All the comments about Trump, the way he has been about his daughter, he's been a little bit funny with both of them, but one more than the other. And that itself is strange. When you find, I think there may be one or two, if that, comments about his daughter Tiffany. It's mainly Ivanka. And what I have to point out is this. Why is it just her? If it's perfectly normal behavior, if you think it is, where are your photos and your behavior like that towards your daughter? Do you have that? Do you have any friends that have acted that way with their daughters? And also, why just one of them? If that's just how you are with your daughter, why just one of them? Why not both? You know? That's an important detail. And have to ask one detail also. If there's nothing strange about it, I've wondered this myself. Now, granted, I don't have kids, okay? But like with the photos, for example, I need to do this in a flashier sort of way once I learn. But one good example. This is usually the one I think about right there. But there's plenty more. Trump and his daughter there. One of them also, of course, just one of them. So what I have to wonder is this. If there's nothing weird about him doing that with his daughter, would it be weird if he did that with one of his sons? Explain that to me. If you would think it would be strange and maybe gay or something like that, if he did those same exact poses with his son, how is it appropriate to do it with his daughter? I've been wondering that for a long time. Why are people away with one child that it would be funny if they're that way with the other child? That doesn't make any sense. And getting back to the guy in Washington County there, he says he didn't mean anything by it. Has he ever said that to a male student? I bet he hasn't. I bet he wouldn't. Why? You know, some of this, and I'm not trying to soften the blow on people like this, but stuff like this, and I'm not a prude. I just watched a murder show about a prude who killed her new husband 8 days in, I guess because she didn't want to have sex with him. I don't know. Anyway, prudes are weird. So I'm not a prude, but there's been inappropriate stuff going on, what's went on with girls for a long time, and it's just been let go. Slightly, just a little bit questionable, but they let it go. Men have just been allowed to get away with stuff, especially old white men, have been allowed to get away with stuff for so long that it's obvious stuff like this is going to happen. You know, I mean, you'll have like older men halfway flirting with teenagers, and that's a no-no, you know. And anyway, it's just, there's been stuff like that. Even the clothing choices I've always found were strange. Like that, you got this weird sort of something I've never been into. I thought it was creepy when I was just sort of turning of age. I mean, just when I turned double digits and realized I was attracted to females, I thought it was creepy even then. And that's the sort of baby doll sort of thing that some women like to dress up as, a little costume thing. It's supposed to be sexy. It's creepy. It's always been creepy. If you're into that, you're creepy. You're a weirdo. And you should probably be watched. But I always thought that was weird. But it's, the funny thing is, that didn't sort of start in a vacuum. There's outfits that people put little girls in. And probably you could even say to a certain degree, the little boys, to where if a teenage girl or a young, like let's say a young woman, say 18 on up, if she dressed like that, people would just be, they would be appalled. That's just sleazy. You can't do that. Certainly if a woman in her 30s dressed like that, they'd have some kind of a problem. But you put a little girl in it. I don't understand that. There's a lot of outfits. To me, you know, children, you should be more conservative around children. Children should be more covered up, not less. I've always felt that way. It's creepy to me. People just put their kids out there. And so stuff like this doesn't happen in a vacuum. It's allowed to go. Trump has been allowed to say this stuff and act certain ways. Biden also. Just been, do whatever they want, say whatever they want, and people just, oh, that's Joe. Little 70s incidental music played after that. But it's just been allowed to go on, and that's how this stuff happens. And then something gets super inappropriate, and people are shocked. I bet that's not the worst thing that's happened. I've heard stuff that I'm mad at myself for letting it go. I've heard men say, but I'd be in prison today if I reacted, so I guess there's no way of winning. But you got people trying to run cover for this guy, of course. And you're going to have some people asking, oh, I wonder who he voted for. Could have been either one of them. They both were. But that's just something that needs to be focused on. Again, with the Trump thing. And with what that guy said. Would this be weird if he posed this way with his son? Any of his sons? If it would be gay for him to pose like that with his sons, it's inappropriate for him to pose like that with his daughter. And if you think that's okay, where's your poses like that with your daughters? Go ahead. Put them up and see what happens. I bet you won't be invited to the school meetings anymore. We got to get in touch with reality here, folks. Seriously. Seriously. I hope that guy ends up in a lot of trouble. I hope he does. I really do. He needs to be looked into. And the funny thing is, it's not the first time he's done something like that. How is that allowed to happen? Somebody's been inappropriate with somebody before, and you let them around a school? So that's when you go up a step higher. Who allowed that? Who allowed that? And you punish them as though they're the one who did it. Make people carry full responsibility. It's like when a cop does something awful and resigns. He's allowed to resign. And then they go down the road and get on with another police force. To me, whoever hires them on is now responsible for whatever they do. So if they kill somebody and they get charged with it, well, guess who else gets charged? The person who hired him. You go down too. You're signing him on, you're attached to him now. And that's what needs to happen here. If somebody looked at that file and they said, we're good to hire, whatever he gets, they get. It's about time these people, we're getting to a situation in this country where we're letting people like this get away with this stuff. I used to at least have some sort of a pride towards conservatives that at least they wouldn't put up with this stuff. Boy, was I wrong. At least there's that. At least there's that. Nope. It's time to wake up, people. Time to wake up, and it's time to protect the children, protect the victims. And you know what that means to do, what that means for the people victimizing. You've heard of Wyatt Earp's Hell Ride. More later.